Welcome back to another episode of the Semichas Chaver podcast. Semichas Chaver Talks. This week we have the tremendous chos to hear from Rav Daniel Coren, the Rav and the Mar Asra of Or Chaim Shiner's Shul in Monsey. You'll hear about the shul. It's going to be a more Kabbalistic interview, very fascinating. The Rav is more in the olam of Kabbalah, besides the olam of halacha as well, and we'll get to hear different fascinating halachos with regards to Ma'amer Chonos specifically that have a big Kabbalistic bend to them. I also want to give a big thank you and a shout out to Rav Lezer Shiner, who supports tremendous amount of Torah all around the world, and also Semichas Chaver. He helped very much in the beginning, so big ashkaf to him. And let's jump into this most amazing and incredible episode. It's a tremendous chos to have Rav Daniel Coren Shlita from Monsey together with us on the next episode of Semichas Chaver, or as we like to call it, Sichas Chaver, right? Chaver Talks. Rav Coren is, we could say, one of the Mar Asras of Or Chaim, which is more famously known as Shiner Shul. If you come to America and you're coming to New York and you're a tourist and you're going to hit the Statue of Liberty and the Empire State Building, one of the places you have to come see is Shiner Shul in Monsey. It is mamish, a place letiferes. It's an incredible place. Minyanim around the clock, thousands of people, literally thousands of people davening and learning around the clock. And Rabbi Coren was one of the first. Maybe we'll hear a little bit about the shul and also how Semichas Chaver got in there, and maybe also the types of people that come to the shir, and also the type of people that come to Shiner's I guess minyan factory, whatever you want to call it, Makom Torah. That's what it is. So we're all ears, Rabbi Coren.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much. Of course, Mikta Shivchai Befanav to thank Rabbi Yada on so many levels, and but on the most basic level is that Rabbi Yada ran after me in Shiner Shul to make sure that we get on the page too. But it's not just the fact that Rabbi Yada made sure that we join this incredible, I would say, inspiration that's spreading through the world. But also, it was so mat'im to Shiner Shul, and really to my life itself, really. So I have tremendous levels of halachos, but we're not going to spend 10 minutes on being Meshaveach or Rabbi Yada. I think everyone appreciates what Rabbi Yada is doing. So thank you, Rabbi Yada, on behalf of so many people, myself and Talmidim and Talmidim. So Hashem should give you koach to continue and be matzliach and be mashpia on many, many people. So I think it's kedai just to give a brief history, because it's nagea to the concept, I think, of SCP, of Sichas Chaver. So 10 years ago, it's more than 10 years ago, I was Baruch Hashem, I was always through Ashgacha, where I was invited to join the Shiner Shul, and really at that point I was just asked to give a daf yomi. That was my job, and then one thing led to the next, and I started going with Lezer Shiner, and I became his chavrusa. But the chavrusa wasn't just a chavrusa where we, Baruch Hashem, was zeicha to finish Yerushalmi and many other svarim, and it became an incredible chavrusa and really a friendship. But also it became he asked me, he encouraged me, and if anyone knows Lezer Shiner, his ability to is broadkite and is being able to really see how to grow and inspire people on multi levels. So he almost forced me.
Jump in, just
Yeah.
Mechila.
Of course.
Just because I think it's going to give everyone chizuk. Whenever Blazer would travel, the Rav would come with him, because when you go with your Gemara on vacation, you take your daf yomi, you take your Semichas Chaver notes, you bring your chavusa. So you would always go with Rav Daniel Coren.
Exactly.
The Rav has I forgot to mention, the Rav has WhatsApp videos that go to hundreds of thousands of people. They're on Torah Web, Torah Anytime, mamish, like flying all over the internet. And the Rav takes them from the most obscure places, mamish, like I think that Rizal says that they say stories about that Rizal that used to drive in Eretz Yisrael, and he would stop and be like, oh, let's stop over here, and he would walk a little bit and they make a shahakol. And he said, no one here ever made a shahakol from Shishas Yimei Bereshis. I was the first one who was pssak in the place. So I think we could say the same thing about Rabbi Coren. Mamish got the places, probably there was no Yid never there. And Mamish from there was Mar B'Torah, and it's an incredible thing. And also they never missed the minyan. Right? I don't know how they do that, but wherever they go, they always have a minyan, and it's an incredible thing. But sorry for cutting the Rav off. I just think it's just
please jump in, because
it gives people a whole understanding of vacation. Like, it's not a vacation. You bring your shas with you, you bring your gemara with you bring your minyan with you, and through that you see ma'aser bereishis. It's an amazing thing. Sorry, b'chavod.
100%. And first of all, jump in anytime, Eliada. What you just said is such a crucial point. I'm trying to be mitzamtzem, the ikar points that we really want to get to people that are listening. So for sure, Laser Shiner is mechayiv the ashirim, and it's mechayiv the ashirim, like the Gemara in Yoma says with Hillel, because rich guys, when they see that, wait a minute, it's not shaykh number one to go on vacation unless you make sure you have a minyan, and you might pay 7 guys, 7 Sfardim, and put them up in hotels and everything just so you should have a minyan. But also that you have a chavrusa, that there's no such thing as going without a chavrusa, and learning and steiging away, and so that's for sure something that kedai to take. One of the takeaways. The other takeaway, like you said, is it's amazing that I definitely went to all over the world. Taka went all over the world. We actually circled in one trip. One of the most fascinating trips was to Australia. There were a few stops, but it basically was a circle around the world. And it was the most incredible because we went to the halachos of the time zone. Taka didn't do this in Semichas Chaver. I'm looking forward to all the fascinating shilas of Australia. I was in actually for one Shabbos we stopped, and Laser would marvel on all these interesting shilas, halachic shilas, and we'll get to this point in a second. It's a very important point how transformational halacha is. But in any case, it happened to be there was one time when I was actually taking a video, and it was Friday, and I was showing that if I would be in the water, it would be Shabbos, according to the Chazon Ish. And on the beach, I'm still okay. There's actually a machlekes in the poskim, Chaim Kanievsky, Zecher Tzadik Levach, and others, whether how much can you walk into the water that you're still considered Yom HaShishi. So people it's fascinating. The world is a fascinating place, and every time when you're taking halacha, it's a different world. It's a different trip. So I talk when Makasha that SCPs, Semichas Chaver, when I see, in fact, I'm just parenthetically, so I'm going to jump to a few things, but yeah, when I started learning with Leza, actually, halacha, it doesn't take very long to see an incredible transformation. And I'm taking Leza as an example, but it's true in every person, and especially you see this in Semichas Chaver. Because Semichas Chaver is not just I'm learning a halacha or I'm told a halacha, and without the background and without an understanding, without an appreciation. When a person starts learning halacha and the background, the person becomes a different person, and as Lezer told me, it becomes Yirei Shamayim. It's a different person. And when I have guys in my shir, there are a few guys. There's levels of commitment. Of course, I have 2 guys I'm thinking specifically. And their names Yeshua and Yaakov. They chazer over the shiurim. They have chavrusa, which I think is so powerful. And when they send me shilas, and many times I don't even remember what I said, and they know probably more than I do, which is the most beautiful thing in the world. But you see what it does to a person. They become a different person. They become Yirei Shamayim. I always say, I don't know if it's a made up. I'm making this up to some degree. We say Atikri halachos ela halachos ela halachos. I say, Ef shaloimar, al tikri halachas el halichos. And I mean by that is, I used to hear from Rav Noach Weinberg, Zecher Tzadik Levach. I was very close to him. He was a giant in itself. And, I'm sure you remember him. Rav Noach Weinberg he changed the world, but he used to always say, Torah's Chaim. We say Torah's Chaim. That means that Torah has to be alive, has to be with you, has to change you, has to guide you in every single aspect. That's the most beautiful gift that we have. So that's definitely one big aspect that I've seen over the years, and I just want to now be makasher to Shiner Shul specifically. In my shir, as you know, the Shiner Shul is the place of every type of Jew, and in fact, I just had a video recently that because of the cookies, and I actually pushed to have apples, that there should be also a healthy menu. So we have cookies, apples, soups, and almost everything else that you could dream of, even you shining your shul. So recently there was a non-Jew that was interviewed, that he started coming to Shiners. Like, first I didn't know, I've had shilas already. People, the Rabbeim asked me, can a non-Jew put on tefillin? Because you don't get these shilas in most places, but this is a real shilah. A non-Jew got, started coming. They actually interviewed him and asked him why he comes. He said that because it's a place where I could get some cookies and coffee. So why not? So that's one level. There's another level, of course. Every mashulch probably knows this is the epicenter of fundraising on different levels, and very interesting things that I found out from Mishulachim. I actually want to jump something that happens to be we're learning in the sugyas of Birkas Hamazon and keeping pas on the table. So I reminded myself, one of the reasons is that you should have pas for the aniyim. And most people usually don't have even just aniyim. The concept of aniyim coming to one's table is not something that's very common, bazman hazeh. And that's why I push, and I think the Chasam Sofer already says this concept, that you should give tzedakah, a person should give tzedakah before Yantav, because the Zohar HaKadosh says you're supposed to have aniyim at your table. Most people are not, it's not like you go to the shul, and after davening, it used to be in Europe, that there were aniyim that really need an invitation. Happens to be by Shiner Shula over the years, I've had anim, I've had mishulachim that were sleeping in the shul, like old time in Europe, and so it's that it actually became real. I always joke around. There's one mishulach that I always thank. He taught me how to sleep on chairs. What I mean by that. So once in a while, also, you end up in shul, you're wiped. And I have a little bit of crazy type of hours. And our shul, Baruch Hashem, we have like a 24, almost 24/7, except Friday night, a few hours, because we have a tikka kol chatzos, which we Baruch Hashem have in shul. But in any rate, I remember that I was once like 2 a.m. in shul, and this mashulach is there, and like he even asked me, "Can we learn?" So we're learning. I forgot what it was. We're learning with a mashulach. Can you imagine in the middle of the night? And then he said, "I need to lie down." And I said, "Okay." So what does he do? He takes 3 chairs, and then another 2 chairs, one on top of the other. And I'm looking at him saying, wow, that's amazing. He basically created a pillow. So since then, anytime I need to lie down, I usually take 3 chairs. The 4th chair is double chair, and it actually acts as a pillow. It's mamish baduk umenuse. It works, and it's something that I didn't know until I saw Mishulach do it. So you could learn a lesson from every single person. I always find that very funny.
There's a lot to learn.
Anyway,
Amazing. And the Rav's, the participants in the Rav's shir are also a mix, right? Hasidim and...
I was just going to say, exactly. I have the most amazing mix, and I have like Ger Chassid. I have all types of Chassidim. As you know, Shiner Shul is really a place where every type of Chassid comes and feels comfortable. And then I have people that are a little bit more modern, and there are people that that are Litvish, and it's the most beautiful combination. Not only that, I'm very much every morning we have 2 Vasikin minions. So there's a Sephardic minion, and there's the non-Sephardic. Let's call it the non-Sephardi Vasikin minion. We have 2 Vasikin minions. Our Vasikin minion. So basically, Laser asked me at some point to come and join the Sephardi minion. And every day I speak on Divrei Halacha. It became something so perfect for me, because really coming to Shiner Shul gave me a whole different mahalach, even in halacha. When they say the Rosh was a Rav really for the Sephardim also. He took over the Rashba's position. Almost like and especially when you're learning SCP and you're learning halacha, to really keep in mind that there's Sephardim and there's Ashkenazim, there's Mechaber and Ramah, and then it gets broken down even more, and there's Hasidim and there's non-Hasidim, and there's this morning I was speaking, I made a siyum. So after that, so after davening, I'd say Dvar Halacha, and in my minyan, the Sephardic minyan, there's a few mekubalim. It's one of the only shuls probably you'll see quite a few people wearing the double tefillin. It's a very geshmak matzav. So one of the mekubalim there was arguing with me. It was a nice argument, of course, the Shem Shemaim, whether you say Tachnun or you don't say Tachnun by Siyum Maseches. Rabbi Yosef Zechat Tzadik Livracha writes that when it comes to Siyum, you don't say Tachnun. The only argument is that maybe he's only speaking about Mincha, but it's very interesting. Why am I telling you this? I'm trying to remember.
You need the Ashkenazim and the Sephardim. You need to have
right.
But
there's something else. You're right, but also because I was speaking also a few not so long about my machonim, but this was the ikka point, that to keep in mind as a rav that's paskening, you really have, you can't. I just want to mention this. It's good that I have 5 different siltonim videos that I send a day. 2 of them are to Israelis. One of them is actually for secular Israelis, and I always encourage people to get more. And it's basically very similar to the American the ideas. and one of them is also just halachos and ilchos Shabbos. But certainly, it became something in my head. It's like that I always have to think and be careful. What do you mean? There's Sfaradim, there's Ashkenazim, and like I said, the reason why I was mentioning this also is because when it comes to the bittul tachnun, one second, when it comes to tachnun, as we know, there's many interesting minhagim, and so of course by Hasidim, their your side of their tzaddik is mamish like a yontiv, and it could be dangerous if you say tachnun.
I heard
In our shul,
by the Hasidim, they have a klal. When in doubt, leave it out. And that's the
exactly. But interesting. So Avad Yosef writes, which is always where I felt, but I think, scared to say it, and I probably wouldn't say it so quickly. He says it's a tos gomel. So it says it's a tos gomel to not say yortzeit, not to say tachnun on a yortzeit. But anyway, it's a different topic. It's a fascinating topic. But my point is, the chachma is really to be able to keep in mind the different sects of Jews, the different minhagim. Yeah, I'm sure, obviously, like even when it comes to the Yekis, where we were speaking about my Machroinim and everything else, there's so many. So when it comes to my Shir, it's the same thing. I have a Chabad. I have to be sensitive to Chabad. When you say something, you have to be really, and it's the right thing to do. It's because really, Klal Yisrael, at this point, have this incredible, and in my Shul, it's mamish like that, this mix, but at the same time, people get very personal about their minhagim and their rebbes and everything else. So it's definitely a chachma that I have to always remind myself and review.
who are the Ravs Rabbanim? The Rav mentioned of Noach Weinberger. Who else did the Rav learn by?
Yeah, I had a very beautiful journey. So I learned at Keren B'Yavne when I was in 18. That's really where I started. I think halacha by your great uncle or Yaakov Goldvich Zechat Tzadik Livracha. I was in the era, a year behind Eitan Feiner and other Chashav. We were all steiging away with, then there was only Mishnah Berurah, or maybe Kitzur Shalom, but we were in the Mishnah Berurah. There was no Dirush or anything. There was actually a very Chashav, a pssak then. The Mashgiach, I forgot his name. Not the Mashgiach, he was the pssak. There was a pssak, the yeshiva had a pssak. So I was there for 2 years, and I was already very much in halacha. And then when I came back, I was actually supposed to go to YU, and which sometimes I regret because there was such gedolim in YU. I had already a kesher Rabbi Willig because I lived in Riverdale, or Mordechai Willig Shlita, and then of course I've held Shechter and all these great giants, and I had kesher to them anyway because I lived in Riverdale, Rabbi Simon. But in any case, I ended up in Monsey, quite a long, interesting hashgacha, and I met Rabbi Tzal Yehuda Rudinsky Shlita, who's, if anyone thinks they know Shas or they know halacha, they just have to speak to Rabbi Rudinsky for a few minutes, and they become humbled. So it was an incredible relationship that I had with him, and over 2 years, since I was supposed to go to YU to get, I was supposed to get some degree. So the first thing that I did is I made sure I get a degree. I got smicha from Rudinsky. That's really, so for the first 2 years I steiged away really in Menorah and stuff. But I also got from him the most incredible, I would say, inspiration and geschmackheit. Like my mahalach in learning, which is interesting because recently we had Rav Tziko Shalevsky come to the shul, and he was speaking, and I introduced him. And Rav Rudinsky actually learned by Rav Tziko Shalevsky. It was a shtickle chavrusa with him, but he learned by him. And he would say over that I got my geschmackheit from Rav Tziko Shalevsky, how to get involved with people in the shir. And God, I never actually even had a shir by him, but I said I'm an einikel by you. I'm your Talmud of a Talmud. I got the geschmackheit of learning, of getting people involved. So I definitely got also a certain mahalach in halacha from Rudinsky. Rudinsky is a genius. So anyone that knows him, but also had, when he was really young, he had shimush by, he was close to Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky and the Betzina Dayan and Rosh Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. He had some hekerus and stuff like that. And over the years, I was with him for many years. So I got a lot from Rav Rudinsky. At the same time, once I think even I came to Shiner Shul, I got involved in the Mekubalim a little bit more. There's a lot of, we have Kol Chatzos, and so a lot of the halachas, also the I would say my perspective is incorporating a little bit more Kabbalah with a carefulness. You have to know what you're telling.
Let's jump into these shilas specifically with maybe a view on Kabbalah itself, a shtickle. So one of the halachas that is not Kabbalah, right? This is written in the Shulchan Aruch, is like covering the knife. What does the Rav say about it? In Eretz Yisrael, here every yid has almost every yid has a gun, especially now since October 7th. So a guy's benching and he puts the gun on the table, or the gun is on the table and there are no kids around and it's safe. It's
Right.
just, would that be a problem?
So the answer is, besides, I'm sorry, my phone was a bit running out. Yeah, besides for the safety aspect, obviously, and all the different legalities,
There's
and
no problem.
but yeah, but really, as we know, so I want to give a little bit of introduction. When we speak about Kabbalah, I always find that even just in halacha, over the years, it became apparent to me that, a pssak halacha could very much depend on who's asking and where they're holding. It's something so crucial. Someone's there's actually, if I'm not mistaken, there's a Maral, and I forgot other sources for this. The Shlach Kaddish. Shlach Kaddish is a fascinating concept. He says that by Matan Torah there was 600,000, as we know, neshamas. Like he saw Yeshishim Riboisis La Torah, and each neshama had a certain shirish neshama, and that shirish neshama has a kesher, of course, to an ois in the Torah, and really it's so Mimele has a certain mahalach. That's why the reason why you will find that people sometimes almost get annoyed that there's a guy that's machmir or he's busy with Kabbalah, and then there's another person like, just tell me what the Shulchan Aruch and Ramah says. But a person has to know, and a Rav, I think, has to know that each person has a different shirish neshama, and sometimes it's actually why he's miskasher to a Rebbe and to another Rav, he won't be miskasher. So I'm just giving that as a little bit of introduction when we're speaking about almost, the halacha. There's certain things that I incorporate for myself. I would not push it for others. But anyway, so in halacha, let's say, speaking about the gun, as we know that the whole chiddush of a cherev al hashulchan is to some degree a chiddush. Again, even in halacha, we see there's a concept called havlan de lo lahoisif. So when we speak about lamashus, if there's a knife, shouldn't be on the table. So I think they say often the brisker of, but silver is mutter, and plastic, even though it could be a knife, is also mutter. Part of think of that concept is because when it was a knife, it was a knife. It was a cherev, and that was almost like forget about the story that brought down in halacha that the person killed himself using a knife. But I think that we try, when it comes to Kabbalah, to be very much sticking to the actual root itself. So even though maybe besvara, one could say, what do you mean? But it's a davar that could kill and destroy, and maybe usually it's made of metal. There's no plastic guns. But afa piken, I would still say that it's already a chiddush. So I wouldn't be so machmir on something like that. It's mistabil to me. A lot of the shaylas I have, Baruch Hashem, chashuv dayanim, and I speak like when I Shmuel first actually is a great pssak to shmuz, and then when I speak to everything. So this specific shayla I didn't speak about guns because I never actually was asked the shayla. So I'm happy you're asking. I'm happy asking, but yeah, but besvara to me, it's not something that a person would be machmir so much when it comes to birkas hamazon.
Right? Like we know in Eretz Yisrael where you're going into a shul, so the minhag is you take the bullets out or you cover it. Right? But
Right,
your guy's at
right,
home.
right.
He's got home. He has his M16 on his lap, and he's benching, or he's in the army. He has the M16 on his
Right.
lap. Right? So,
Right.
but the Rebbe
That's
said that
yeah.
not to be moisif
I
on
wouldn't.
the
Yeah, I
meaning
wouldn't be
besides.
moisif unless there's nothing to lose. Meaning, because be'etzem there's a svara to say that it should be included, but at the end of the day, it was an acherev. And if you look kabbalistically, actually, we meant api Kabbalah. That's why the Piskut Shuvas already writes that it's a din of really midin Esav. And since it's midin Esav, that's why on Shabbos, be'etzem, we're not worried anymore. So that's api Kabbalah, and then even api halacha, there's arguments why on Shabbos Bechal is not nogea. And Gadol Ravizinsky told me that that's where he's noig, on Shabbos Bechal is not noig to cover. So even though most people only are keeping these halachas, as we know, on Shabbos, either because most people only eating on Shabbos an actual meal, but either way, I would still say that that it's already a chiddush because it's be'etzem very much mevusas on the cherev, which is associated to Esav. And mimele, I wouldn't be so machmir. That's what I would say. But if it's like nothing to lose, that's why to put it. I'm not sure, like I said, legally to not hold your gun. It could be already a legal shaila. If there's nothing to lose, then adarabba. I don't think that. I think there would be a svara to be machmir on it.
So in the previous podcast, I asked the Rabbanim, each the same question. I'll break it down into two parts. Number one is the Rav Makbid on my Machronim, number one. And then number two is this is something that happened to me personally when I was in yeshiva. Okay, I was in yeshiva and we were eating pizza in I think it was in the old city, like a group of guys, and it was Shana Aleph or Shana Beth. I don't remember, like the first year, second year. And there's one guy who was obviously doing everything to be like from, and it was time to bench. So I think the majority of us were not doing my Machronim then. And he's like, oh, I just started to be makbid to do my Machronim, but he didn't want to go back into the pizza store because we were already like out like in the courtyard. But he had Coke left over. So he said, it says in the Shulchan Aruch you can use it for you can use any sort of mashke. Right. So he wiped his hands. He literally poured Coca-Cola on his hands, and then he started benching. Right. So maybe for Melech's Daimus we saw,
that'll be very severe mitzad.
But
why? Because Tosfos says
would that work as well?
And being sticky on your hands, lichor, is something that a person would very much not feel comfortable with. So al Melech's Daimus, I agree. Als Visem Kedoshim, it's schwer. Absolutely, I agree with you. Even though the person do bring it down, I saw in the Piskut Chaver he brings down Coke specifically, and I think even is matiret. So maybe there's a chil between Diet Coke and Coke itself. For years, I wasn't. Rav actually is not so makbid on it unless his hands are dirty. But over the years, like I said, where I became more mekushel to Kabbalah, so because there are so many deep things. And this I'm quoting not just besides the sources of Kabbalah and besides the Shalos which was Min Hashamayim and all the even though Chashulchan quotes it, and the Chashulchan quotes the stark lashon for Shalos which was Min Hashamayim that Chas v'Shalom a person could be hurt by not doing Ma'amar Chonim. But milvad that the Vilna Gaon is famous for the Vilna Gaon was makbid in Ma'amar Chonim, as we know. There's two poskim that I'm very much always have a nitiyah to is the Vilna Gaon. Happens to be that. Recently, our family tree traces straight back to the Vilna Gaon's sister. Okay, Vilna Gaon's sister was a sister that the Vilna Gaon said, I'll speak to you in the next world. But okay, that's already a kesher. But milvad that also, I'm very noited to Shlomo Zalman Auerbach's psakim. Baruch Hashem, your family was so zeicha to be mekusher. I'm very mekusher to his mahalach in halacha. But the Tosfos, like I said, the Vilna Gaon and Kabbalah. So when it comes to Ma'amar Chonim, there are so many, like the Vilna Gaon says, every takanas chazal. So even though there's a Tosfos, and it could tell you, and there's a machlekes about Tosfos, whether we say that he's being melamed zchus and not Aruch HaShulchan says he's being melamed zchus, and he has a whole different way of learning than the most poskim that learn Tosfos as almost like lechatchila. We don't do Ma'amar Chonim, and like I said, there's tremendous limudei zchus. Afal piken for myself, I'm very makbid. So there's a machlekes, should you do more than revius or not, because actually you're giving now koyach to the sitra acha. So I'm careful with that. That's already being careful with Kabbalah, and it could be dangerous. But I'm very makbid on it because of these two svaras, A, Pi Kabbalah, and B, that the Vilna Gaon said there's other tamim that even though they're not revealed, so even though Melech's Daimus is revealed, but once it's takanas chazal, there's many panim la Torah. So like again, I would not, let's say for my wife, or for women, there's a ganze tuma, as we know, regarding women, should they do Ma'amar Chonim or not. So if they want to, adarabah, we bring it to the table, we're not going to take it away from them. But to be mechayiv them, to be matriach them, when we know that there's what to be relying, that's I think what a Rav is supposed to do, is supposed to know when the chumrah is applying to someone else or not. But ledidi, I'm trying to be very makbid on it. And not only that, I made up a new slogan, I hope that's okay. As we know, by the Sfaradim, they announced Ma'amar Chonim Chova. It's I'm sure you've heard it many times. Ma'amar Chonim Chova. Now, actually, they're yotze two things. They're yotze the Shulchan Aruch's words, meaning to remind themselves that it's Chova. Number two, it's a Dvar Torah too. So if they didn't have any Dvar Torah on the table, but number three, I was Moisif because the Kav Yashar also has a very stark lashon. Kav Yashar is very Kabbalistic too. A lot of beautiful things that if you want to get in more Kabbalistic, quote unquote, and more. So he writes that it's also the Parnasa is tali in Ma'amar Chonim. So since then, when I was speaking in shul about Ma'amar Chonim recently, because the SCP, it's all in your credit. So a lot of the halachos we also discussed after davening. So I told them that from now on you should announce Ma'amar Chonim Chova v'skula leparnasa. Now, as you know, when something is a segula for panasa, it changes the whole gamut.
Best. Very good, amazing. But what I saw in one of the svarim, the Rebbe's already we're in the more the kabbalistic reasons of Ma'amar Chayim. I saw in some of the svarim to be makbid that the kli kibul, I don't know if the Rav saw this, that the kli kibul should not be of a fancy cup because you're putting in water. Right, a lot of times you'll go to someone's house and they have a silver Ma'amar Chayim set where it's a cup with this beautiful thing. But I saw that they say if the water is going to the sitra achra, like
Right.
the Rabbi is saying, so why are you being mechaber the sitra achra with a nice kli? You should use a broken thing, and also don't use a regular kli. Sometimes people don't have, and now they're makbid on ma'amar chronim. So okay, let's take out the bowl. What do you mean bowl? You eat breakfast from that bowl. You eat cereal from that bowl. Don't use the kli for that. And also, I saw if you're makbid to use the revius and you're doing it in the sink,
I saw that
to be
too.
careful not to do it over kelim. So what's the Rav's
I hear the svara. And I think that on the one hand, the idea of a kli, it's funny, Radinsky was speaking about this also because someone put out a whole sefer on the Mayim Achirim. I forgot what the sefer is called. And in it he said, you're not allowed to use a sink because it's mashma that having a kli is going to be betzem a chisron, like you're saying. If in anything, it's mashma that you should, like Mishmur already quotes, it should go to Mokum Shesh Bo Kismin and this and that. And like you're saying, using a kli almost has a chisarn. So the idea of not having it in a sink is a mistake. Meaning to say, it really comes from the idea that there's a certain danger to the water of the mayim b'chim. Like we see, the Mishnah says, don't put it in mokum shemalchim shemanoshim unless it's going to be absorbed. Now, I have to be ma'ayin more, so I'm glad you're asking me this. I don't see that it could actually have a hezek, meaning, let's say, on the kedim. Meaning, the idea of a kli at the end of the day is to make sure to be meisir and remove the mayim b'choinim from being in a place where a person's going to get nizak. That's my understanding, and that's, so to speak, the Kabbalistic concern. The kli example that we use, so I could understand why there's no hiddur to use a fancy mistama. That's what you're quoting. There's no hiddur to use let's say, a beautiful kli. That I could hear, but I don't think there's any isser. And I don't think Api Kabbalah is any isser, but I'm going to speak to my Mekubalim. I have a few Mekubalim that we schmooze these shaylas out. And I want to be ma'ayin. So we'll get back to Rabbi Yada. If there's really a chisaron to use, like you're saying, the chisaron to use but that's what I'm saying,
If it's going, that's what I saw once in one of the svarim. If it's to the sitra, and also with washing over the kelim, it's like negelvas.
Right, the ruach
tuma in the morning.
Right. My question is, what exactly is it doing to the kli?
The ruach.
So so bli neder, I'm going to be me'ayin. I have a few mekubalim that I try to be when it comes to this to be mevarer. So we're going to try to be mevarer if there's really a concern.
Has the Rav ever heard of someone who forgot to wash
Ma'amar
Chayim and then he washed after benching?
And there's definitely, Yeah, right, exactly. So you could argue that today there's no
because the melach's damus.
But there certainly would be an inyan to do so. Happens to be we were discussing that there's definitely an inyan, and he would actually encourage that. Meaning if you already hold of the minhag, again, depends how you hold. If you're holding that you're keeping to the minhag of Mayim Achonim, Alts Melech Stoimis, and anyway, this person would say that we do have Melech Stoimis today. I think you quoted the beautiful from the Coren Shas, not related to me, by the way, but so if you hold that minhag, there's definitely need to be mekayim, and like I said, I would still do it out all the different Kabbalistic and secrets that are hidden in Mayim Achonim. But Afapikan, right. So the Stipler says to do so, and it seems,
covering the Mayim Achonim water.
When I'm looking in the sugya, since it's a machlekes, the Rokeach and Avodram, if I'm not mistaken, whether really the inyan is to be mechase or to be mesalik. It could be that there's no real machlekes, and the kisui alone, which is probably how the Stipler is learning, is that whatever concern or effect is going to be mitigated by covering, that's definitely something to rely on. So I rely on that. I do want to add maybe this Mon Chiddush a little bit. We know already from Tosfos and other places that there's a klishas, there's a weakness already to let's call it and anything that's got to do with the Sitra Achra, anything that's got to do with mazikim, the Rambam's famous statement that there is no more mazikim in the world, and there's the Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky Tzaddik Libracha in the Sefer explains how the Rambam say that they never existed. He really means that they don't exist now. There's a Tosfos like that in Maseches Chulin. So there's always like that in my back of my mind that a person, when there's need for it to rely, to be, let's say, people are very scared from a lot of things that used to be very spooky, very scary. There's definitely room to say that Bazman Hazeh, there's a certain, that we know that the Vilna Gaon also is the Yedua that's from Avraham Hager when he was gave up his life. So the Tuma of Netilas Yadayim was already that's called weakened or diminished, right? That's why people are not so makbid when it comes to the Daled Amos. So when Mishavur brings it down, there's a quote says that you should be careful, you should be within 4 amos of your bed when it comes to Yadayim. But many tzaddikim and gedolim kind of relied on this, on the fact that it's already, the Ruach Ra is already, it doesn't exist or it's weakened. So I think it's an important thing and as much as we want to be makbid and Zohar and Kabbalah and everything else, there's very much room to remember, and not when the situation calls for it, that you have what to rely on.
Amazing. So we'll conclude with two questions. Number one, a bracha. If the Rav can give a bracha to the tzibur. Number two, an eitzah of
so first of all, that's my biggest chus, and to give a bracha really to besides to you, to all of the listeners, and to all of Klal Yisrael, that halacha should really become part of your life. The change that I see when people incorporate halacha into their lives, it could even be as simple as Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, but I give a bracha from the bottom of my heart that the halacha should become your halachos. It should inspire you. It should change you for the better. It should bring you closer to Hashem. It should give you yiras shamayim. And the eitzah, by the way, and if it's okay, Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, by the way, is an amazing place to start. And recently they put out, First Art School put out a beautiful translation for Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. So it changed the whole Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. The Piskei Teshuvos has a beautiful parish on the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. But again, for people in English, it's an amazing way, and it's so powerful. It's so transformational. I have a recording for the whole year of Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, and I see the people that listen to it every day. They people have told me they have it's about 8 minutes average, but if you listen on double speed, so it's 4 minutes. People tell me they have a seder, and I send it out every morning at 4 a.m. and they have a seder, whenever they wake up or whatever it is, and it changes them, because halachas is automatically something that you incorporate into your life. So that's my humble bracha to all the listeners and to everyone that we should be zeicha. I just want to end with this point: is I learned with Israeli secular Jews. One of the recent Israeli Jews is a chayal. His name is Eden. His arm was blown off, and one of my talmidim introduced me to him when he was in Tel HaShomer recuperating, and then he came recently to America, and he was in by my house for Shabbos. It was amazing, and since then I learned with him every day. I learned with him every day. I'm Mishnah and Pirkei. I was almost up to the fourth parak, and everything that goes on in his life, he tells me. He's he started wearing, I gave him a Muncie yarmulke. He wears a yarmulke. He calls it the Muncie yarmulke. I gave him a velvet yarmulke. He tells me every Mishnah changes, just it fits with what's going on in his life, and it gives him guidance. And this is what Torah's Chaim is. So halacha, Mishnah betzim used to be halacha. That's what it was. So here it's musar. It's a concept of how to live life. But that's what it is, and we should all be zeicha that it should inspire us, and then also we should be able to share it with everyone else.